Mike McCann, 3615 Lavender Trail, Murfreesboro. I am owner, partner of Michael's Homes. You may have met my partner here once before, Mitchell Bowman. But I'm here to talk about the adoption of the 2018 building code, with the main topic being the installation modern energy code is what we're looking at. The thing that we have going on for us is that we all, as home builders, want to build the best house for all our clients, all our buyers. We want them to have the best house. And we feel that the 2018 model energy code does not give value to the homes that we're building right now. Our biggest value that we've had was the 2009 to 2012 model energy code, where this one here is requiring us to go, the new one, requiring us to do 2x6 walls, R19 on our walls, extra costs in our windows for longer jambs, bigger door openings, crawl spaces, potential encapsulation of crawl spaces. So it's an undue amount of cost that, as everybody knows, a builder is going to pass it on to their clients, to their buyers. And if it was a valued contribution to the home, I would be all for it. But for what it does, there's better insulation or energy efficient values elsewhere. If I have a buyer come up to me and say, hey, I want it to have my house a little more energy efficient, what is the best thing that I can do? My first response is your heating and air system. That is your best bang for your buck. That is where you get your most return. The next one may be, well, better windows and doors. Not once have I ever gone to a home buyer and says, hey, I think you need to do R19 on the walls. That is your best return. It does not give you the value that you need. It takes so many years to recoup your money that you have to invest on this R19, the 18 energy code. And so that's why we're just here to say, hey, when the adoption comes up next Tuesday, that you could consider eliminating this model energy code from the adoption that you're looking to take forward. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we have Kevin Woodward. As you make your way to the podium, please state your name and your address, please, for the record.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. My name is Kevin Woodward. I live at 2101 Sherbrooke Lane. I am a builder developer. I'm also a board member of the Tennessee Home Builders, the National Association of Home Builders, and the Home Builders Association of Central Tennessee, which covers Rutherford County. I'd just like to go a little bit further on what Michael McCann has said regarding the energy code. I had the honor and privilege this year of sitting on the task force that the fire marshal put together for the adoption of the current codes, both the building codes, the energy codes, the NEC codes, all the codes. I was one of three builders that was chosen. Each of the grand divisions across the state of Tennessee had one builder. And we recommended on multiple levels different things that should be accompanied in the building codes. Some of them didn't make sense. Some of them are just, for our specific geographic region, or zone 4, or what we refer to, were inappropriate. So I'd just like to give you guys just a little bit of knowledge and then give you the latitude to adopt what the state has adopted. And that is, they did adopt the 2018 Energy Code, but with some changes, which made perfect sense for Tennessee. Couple things, we'll just get right into it. The tables. The 2012, as Mr. McCann has started in the 2015 IEC tables regarding insulation. The state has adopted the 2009 tables because they make more sense. R13 in the walls versus R20. If we lived in Michigan, I'd say R20 would probably be appropriate, but we do not. We live in Nashville, Tennessee, Smyrna, Tennessee, Laverne, Tennessee, Rutherford County, Murfreesboro, and they just don't make any sense. So the state has adopted these by putting in the 2018 Energy Code, but putting in the tables from the 2009 Energy Code. And the reason being of that is simple. Studies have indicated that almost a $6,000 increase would occur in a single-family detached dwelling if we went with the 2018 codes, just for insulation. And that insulation would have a simple payback of 13 years. Currently, right now, the homeowners only stay in their homes for 4.7 years before they move on to a bigger home, a different home, get transferred, whatever the case may be. Another thing that is in basement walls. It doesn't happen a lot here in Tennessee because of our topography, but it does happen. In a 700 square foot basement, it would cost us about $800 to insulate that basement. The year's savings in climate zone 4 is $7. Again, doesn't make sense. Ceiling insulation, they want to move us to an R49 from an R38. A couple things that are important to note here that are really important regarding ceiling is it would have a payback on the ceiling insulation going from R49 to R38 in 80 to 130 years. Okay.
Thank you so much. Next, we have Kevin Atwood. When you come up, please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Kevin Atwood. I live at 1149 Meadowbridge Lane, Arrington. I'm here on behalf of the Home Builders Association of Central Tennessee. And not to reiterate everything that's been said before, but I would really ask the board and aldermen to take a look at some of the information that's been presented here before. The Home Builders Association has done a lot of research already into these codes. We don't have a problem with the codes going up. My understanding is that the energy code is not under the same requirement as the 7-year requirement for the building code. But I don't think we have an issue with the code itself. It's just there's certain aspects of the codes that are going to add a tremendous amount of cost to the end user, to the customer, and have very little value, as you've heard, to the customer. That's what we're most concerned about, is creating a tremendous, I mean, just ask yourself, would you want to pay $15,000 or $20,000 more for a house and really not have any value there when you're comparing to the same home being built in another community? You're not going to be able to recover your investment. And so that's really what we're here for. I also wanted to offer, if there's an opportunity here, sorry, there's something flying around here. If there's an opportunity, we'd be willing to work with, create a task force and work with your codes department or any of you people that would want to be on the task force and kind of look at some of these things and take those things that make sense and implement them, and those things that don't make sense and carve those out to protect the end user. That's really what this is all about. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And as that's the 3 people that signed up for the Citizens Forum, I'll close this forum section out for the day. Thank you. Welcome to the workshop for July 2nd. This is for the July 7th regular meeting. I would like to call this meeting to order. And we do have a quorum. On next Tuesday, the prayer will be led by Alderman No, Pledge of Allegiance by Mayor Cole. First order of business, I'd like to submit to approve the minutes for the June 2nd, 2020 public hearing, the June 2nd, 2020 regular meeting, June 23rd, 2020 public hearing, and the June 23rd, 2020 special meeting. Someone like to make a move? Sorry. After that, we will have our presentations. There will be certificates of recognition and appreciation, Citizens of the Year, and a new swearing-in ceremony. Then we'll have our department reports. First item is old business, the second reading of Ordinance 2020-05, an ordinance to amend the Title VII and Title 12 of the Laverne Municipal Code and adopt the following standards: 2018 International Building Code, 2018 International Residential Code, 2018 International Plumbing Code, Mechanical Code, Fuel Gas Code, International Property Maintenance Code, International Fire Code, NFPA 101 Life Safety Code, 2018 International Energy Observation Code, 2018 International Swimming and Pool and Spa Code, the 2018 International Existing Building Code, 2018 International Private Sewage Disposal Code, the 2017 National Electric Code, and ICC A-117-1, 2017, accessible and usable buildings and facilities. Anyone like to engage in conversation about that item?
Can we, can we get one of those gentlemen back up here and let me ask him some questions?
Absolutely, if they're willing to. Is that okay to suspend the rules?
It is, ma'am.
We'll suspend the rules. Who would you like to speak with?
The second gentleman.
Kevin Woodward?
You talked about the energy and the amount of time that it saves and everything. The first gentleman talked about they're requiring you to use 2x6s and things like that. The payback for the energy, as you said, would take a while. But what about the better built home versus the other one, where they want you to use regular 2x4s and stuff?
Structurally, there's no difference in the wall. They're gonna be built the exact same way. They're gonna be assembled the exact same way. They're gonna have the headers across the doors the exact same way. You gotta have the load on it. The reason for a 2x6 wall is to encapsulate an R20 insulation, because there is no such thing as a 3.5-inch insulation that'll meet the R20 requirement. So you have to do an R20 in a 2x6 wall.
So, in your professional opinion, a 2x6 wall will not last longer or be more sturdier than a 2x4 wall?
In current building sciences, no. The current science is, if a 2x6 wall was stronger or made a difference in the building science of the entire building envelope, we'd be building them today. But HBI, which is the Housing Institute, and other institutions have tested all this stuff, and it's not. Across the entire country, we build with 2x4 walls, even in seismic zones, of which, believe it or not, Tennessee has one of the largest seismic zones in the country.
I understand that.
And they still build with 2x4 walls.
So what, I'm assuming you've done some sort of price check, and we'll say a 1,500 square foot home, as opposed to how you're doing them now, as opposed to what they want you to do at the original or the first cost building it. What kind of difference is it?
You could be looking anywhere between $20,000 to $27,000 once you get it all done, because that's going to include the framing package, which will include about a 30% increase in the cost of the lumber, moving from 2x4s to 2x6s. It takes about 240 standard 2x4s or 2x6s to build a house, but that does not include the single bottom plate and the double top plate, which are all usually 16-foot pieces of lumber. A 2x4 16 versus a 2x6 16 is about 3 times the cost. That's just one. Now you have the insulation. You have greater insulation in the walls. There's one. You have the window and door package. Now you're going to have to extend all the jambs on all the doors and all the windows.
To 7.5 inches. Yeah.
Exactly, and right now, that is not something that is standardly built. If we have a builder that wants to build to a 2x6 wall, he's gonna have to call his manufacturer and say, I need either jam extensions, or you need to custom build all these windows for me, because that's not the way they're built, whether you go to the box stores or the lumber yards and order your windows. You're gonna get a 4 9/16 inch jam on your doors and windows, because that's what it's
Trust me,
standard.
I'm very familiar.
Then
with
you
it.
know exactly what I'm talking about, sir, yes.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, no problem. Thank you for the opportunity.
While the rules are suspended, is there any other discussion that needs to happen with one of the builders that are present?
I have a question, but not with the builder.
Okay, go ahead.
Actually, mine is with our codes director. What's your feeling on this?
My belief is that it's time that we adopt the table in the 2018 at some point in time. I mean, we're talking about a code now that's 2009 when it was presented as an adopted code. So we're talking now about a code that's already roughly 11 years in the past. And if we don't do another code adoption for another 6 years, then we're stretching into 20 years. We're still falling back on the code that was in the 2009. It's not the code so much, it's the table 4201. I think it's 4201. That's the table that these folks are talking about. That's I guess the one issue in the 2018 that they have that they have qualms with. And yes, there have been other jurisdictions around Rutherford County that have gone to or are using that table from the 2009. It's just my belief that it's the right time that we adopt the 2018 with that table in the 2018. For at some point, I mean, how far in the future are we going to take code adoption, still fall back on a code that's now, you know, roughly 10, 11 years old? So at what point are we gonna take that step?
I have a question about how you feel about the amendments that the state of Tennessee has put in using the older table.
Well, I don't really have an opinion one way or another, but I can say this, which I heard that the International Energy Conservation Code is not a code that falls within that 7-year availability. Law states that we adopt a code, anything available no greater than 7 years, within 7 years. I was audited, the codes department was audited by the state auditor, Mr. Tim Planer, before my undoing last February, and I was in the midst of, at that time, trying to bring before this board that code adoption because we were in the 09, and I was told by the auditor, Tim Planer, from the state of Tennessee, that we are now behind the 8 ball on the Energy Conservation Code, which led to the adoption of the 2018 family of I codes. I met with each building official throughout the county, well, the town of Smyrna, city of Murfreesboro, and Rutherford County as well, because of that audit that Mr. Planer was in, and he was also going around to other jurisdictions throughout the mid-state area. I don't think that he had quite made it to the town of Smyrna, city of Murfreesboro at that time, but I was given pretty much an ultimatum that we adopt. At the time, I didn't have to adopt anything but the 09 because we were in the 2012, and at the time, the 2018 didn't exist, was not available. I have to stay within 7 years. State law requires me to stay within 7 years of what's available. So when the 18 came out and I was in the 09, y'all do the math, I was told I had to adopt. So that's what we set out to do, and that's what the county, if you'll look, the town of Smyrna, I think, adopted the 18. Of course, they amended it out with that table, you know, of the 2009 still, a lot, and other jurisdictions around the county did, as well as the county. I studied it about what I felt was the right thing to do, and you have before you what I felt like was the right thing to do. Now, yeah, other jurisdictions in the county, they're still in that 09 table, and if it's the desire of this board, I can do that as well, but, you know.
Are they still in compliance?
Legally, yes, because they've adopted the 2018 code. The local amendment that they've required or have put in place is that they revert back to that table in the 09.
Okay, that was gonna be my next question. So we can unilaterally,
You can.
okay.
I don't know what prohibits you from going back to, of course, it does no longer exist, the standard building code, but, you know, that's back in the 1980s, the 1990s, so how far back do you want to take us?
Yeah, understood.
I mean, it's simple that, yeah, it probably, there's, you know, each coin has two sides.
Right.
And I agree with what they say. I don't object to what they're implicating here, but at what point do we say, okay, is it fair enough that we revert back to the 09, or do we continue to try to push things forward? At some point in time, and I'm not hearing it in large numbers from folk, but I'm hearing that on Capitol Hill, and now whether it's true or not, I don't know, but I'm hearing from a small circle of individuals that there is some talk about legislation that would prohibit such adoption.
I figured that would happen.
Thank you.
I mean, it's, you know, when the state tells me that I can't, then I'll tell you that we can't, but right now we can, but I'm hearing that chatter on Capitol Hill that is it's chatter. Whether it's likely or not, I can't say.
Right.
What's offered out there as far as when this ordinance comes up, or not this particular ordinance, but when it's time to adopt the new international codes, what level of openness do we have for individuals like that came here tonight to come forth and let us know? This is something, what they were talking about is an eye-opener, and I knew nothing about it. So it's something that I think that before this comes to us as an ordinance as a whole, is there any time that there are meetings, is it with the planning commission, or where does that come in where they can come and voice their opinion so it can be brought to us earlier than the week before we have to vote on it?
I'm not aware of any opportunity that they may have.
Okay.
I just remembered I did not unsuspend the rules, so I'd like to do that now. And also, I have a question for Evan. In order to be in compliance with state regulations and also to stay consistent with the state's message, do you have a recommendation here? Would it be appropriate for us to adopt the same measures that the state has implemented?
I think you've got the flexibility to do it either way. So really, in terms of my opinion, it's really more of a subject matter question for Randolph in terms of what he thinks is best in terms of codes. But from a legal perspective, it wouldn't make any difference at this point, because legally you can do what is being suggested or adopt what Randolph proposes. But in terms of what would be the better thing to do, that's really more of like a codes question than a legal.
Okay, thank you.
So if we were to adopt it, and as you said, the chatter, and it went back to the other direction, would it just be we'd have to go through this process again to get it killed?
I don't know how the legislation, if it in fact does come about, what the wording might be or how it would be viewed. But, this table in the 2018 Energy Conservation Code, if adopted Tuesday night, at any point in time, if these gentlemen want to, as a few of them have mentioned, to form a committee, and we all sit in and try to better educate the elected officials as to what they can do, that can be changed. I mean, we can revert back to that at some point by ordinance, by adopting this as it is. That happened in 2015. I think we had amended in 2014 the requirement for residential fire sprinkler, and it stayed that way until January or February, I think, of 2015. So, I mean, whatever we adopt now, it's not actually chiseled firmly in stone. It's going to leave an indelible mark, no doubt. But the code. I mean, although we're going through the adoption cycle right now, it's not saying that this can't be something that can be done at a later date. Whichever route you take Tuesday night, if you take it to adopt as I presented, or if you, I mean, it's a simple matter of wording that I eliminate table R402.1, I believe it is, in the 2018, and revert back to the same table in the 2009. It's just a matter of course, I don't know if it had been a first reading on any changes that we have to make. That's something that I don't do, that I don't know, but this all can be.
Madam Vice Mayor, can I answer Alderman No's question?
Yes,
Because I think
please.
also, I think, if I understand your question, Alderman No, it's if the state were to do something that disallowed what's being proposed here, would the city have to come back and alter something? The answer to that question is generally no, because the state would not allow the retroactive application of any change to go backwards. What it would mean is that the next time the city has to adopt international code, you would not be able to carve out the exception that is being requested today. But if the state does change something in the future, it wouldn't require the city to go backwards and undo whatever you do here.
All right,
Yep.
that makes sense.
Yes, sir.
Are all of these proposed changes just strictly in the International Energy Conservation Code section of this request?
I'm sorry, Vice Mayor.
There's a list of different codes that are requested to be updated. Are all of these falling into the International Energy Conservation Code?
Well, at the bottom, close to the bottom, you'll see the 2018 International Energy Conservation Code. That's just one of the many codes that we're adopting, and this particular issue just happens to be in that International Energy Conservation Code. Each of these codes that you see before you are books about yay thick, and they're full of code requirements, some critical, some not so critical. But I guess just to answer your question, or I guess try to define it or narrow it down, the other codes that we're looking at are not affected by that issue that comes before you, that table 402.1 in the International Energy Conservation Code. That's strictly to that particular code book. And as I heard, somebody said that that's not a part of what the state requires me to be within 7 years of. I'm being audited by the state auditor, and I'm being told that because we're in the 09, that's why we have to adopt a later version. And at that time, had I not had that setback back last year, we could have gone just with the Energy Conservation Code. Everything else would have been fine, but at some point, as we are now, that 2018 has become available, and I have to stay within 7 years of what's available.
Right,
So that 09 would not work.
okay. Is there any more discussion on this item? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 5, resolution for the city of Laverne to appropriate funds to nonprofit organizations for fiscal year 2020, 2021. Any conversation on this? I'd like to say on this, I have requested some records. I have received them tonight. I will be reviewing those. As it comes from previously denying this resolution, I have received more information to help me make a more informed decision. Is there any more conversation on this item?
I just have a question for the finance director. Are all of the nonprofit, what is 501c, have they all been sent to you? Okay, thank you.
On the consent agenda is the next item. Approve city bids and purchases as recommended. This is for bid for generator repair and maintenance, state contract purchase, truck for storm water for the leaf collection program, state contract purchase for the truck for water billing department, state contract purchase for 3 trucks for the water department. These are budgeted items. Is there more conversation that needs about consent agenda item A? Seeing none. B, approve the amendment number 1 to the agreement with CTI Engineers for the Upper Cheney Woods Interceptor Sewer segments 4 and 3. Approve the extension to maintenance and support agreement with Indemnia Identity and Security USA LLC. Item D, approve annual contract with the Regional Transportation Authority for the provision of the regional bus service. Item E, approve master service agreement with VC3 Inc. to conduct a security gap analysis for the city of Laverne. Approve use agreement with the Rutherford County Crimson Tide Youth for the 2020 Fall Youth Football League. Approve the agreement with Richard Cohen for economic development services. Approve professional service agreement with Navi Retail LLC for economic development services, and approve street paving for fiscal year 2020, 2021. Are there any questions about those agenda items? Any discussion? Bruce, any comments?
No, not right off, unless there's any questions, and we can certainly answer any questions that may come up.
Okay. New business. First reading ordinance 2020-08, an ordinance to amend the Laverne Municipal Code by amending Title 16 by adding new Chapter 5 entitled Moving of Houses, Structures, or Buildings, and amending Title 12, Chapter 1, Section 12-103 regarding miscellaneous fees. No conversation about that? New business item 8, first reading, ordinance 2020-09, an ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2019-2020 general fund budget. New business number 9, Resolution 2020-09, a resolution authorizing the City of Laverne to participate in the Interlocal Purchasing System, TIPS, Cooperative Purchasing Program.
I'd like to get a little information on that from the chief.
Sure, Chief. Chief Walker, to be specific.
That's okay. I'll get Ronnie up here with me too if we need him. Question?
Well, just what is TIPS?
Okay, TIPS is one of the cooperative purchasing agreement authorities that we can buy from. The city of Murfreesboro did it, how long ago, Bruce?
About 5 years ago.
So Murfreesboro has been using them for 5 years. It's just another one of those cooperatives. And if we utilize this cooperative to make a purchase, we actually get billed 4%
Yes, sir, we save 4% off the purchase price.
of the price. So we get a little bit more discount than we had been offered already before.
Okay, I just wanted to get that for myself, because we
Can
all
I-
know what assumptions do when you make them.
Can I discuss the reason why
Yeah, please.
now? And it'll cover one thing down the line. 7 years ago, or a little over, we started looking for new headsets, et cetera, to connect with our communications system for SWAT. And other times we need to use those as well, but specifically for SWAT, it's imperative that they have not only ear protection when they're on a mission, but they have good communications. One of the things we found out before we ever got finished with the microwave and the tower and so on and so forth, with being connected to TACN, we were at Rock Springs Elementary, and they were doing an operation as a training exercise. It was one of those situations you can imagine in a school that they were training for. And there were several times they could not communicate with one another. One of the things we found out was the headsets were not very conducive to top-line communications with those old headsets and that equipment and that technology. So we began looking. And Lieutenant Call and Sergeant Timpson both went through, did a tremendous amount of testing with several devices, and we found a device that we had no issues with whatsoever. So what we're looking to do is replace those in another item. I think it may be next, I don't remember.
It is.
But that's the reason for TIPS, because they are not on a GSA contract, but they are on the TIPS cooperative contract. And we got even a better price than they offered us to begin with. And Bill dealt with them on the phone because he works day shift and Conrad's got PM shift, as you all know. So it's a little easier for Bill to slide in there and talk on the phone during the daytime when the other folks are working. But in order to have good interoperable communications and to protect our folks as a whole, we're requesting that the funding for that come from police impact fees. That's, I believe that's how we purchased the last one 7 years ago, either that or from the drug fund, one or the other. Because those are dedicated funds and can be used for equipment. And they come from the impact fees themselves, not the general fund. So we're asking that you move and approve us purchasing from this cooperative and a contract there to utilize that cooperative. And then we'll be coming back with that next item down there on your sheet and requesting you approve the purchase and the source of those funds for that purchase, so that our folks on SWAT have good, safe communications, high-quality communications, and they do more than just allow us to talk on a radio. They also use a phone and even other devices too. If you need Bill to speak to some of those, we'll
That
get
was
him
my
up here.
next question on it. Will it be, as far as camera capability, like the military use or the FBI when they go in, and you could use the camera at a command post to follow the individuals?
That would be a totally different piece of equipment that would
Okay.
have to be
And it's not
added.
adaptable?
Well, the headset isn't.
Okay.
The helmets are, yes, we have the new helmets. And, we're asking to add these new headsets because that's a pretty pricey object for communications, radio communications particularly.
If you don't mind, I'll go ahead and read this next agenda item because it's related, and that way we can talk about all of it at once.
Okay.
Number 10, new business, motion to approve the purchase of SWAT headsets using the interlocal purchasing system TIPS awarded contract from Stark Inc. Strack, sorry. So go ahead, sir.
Do y'all need Bill for more explanation?
No, it's just that
Okay.
I don't know if the rest of, I just was not aware of, I mean, I read what TIPS was and I saw what you were purchasing, but I didn't want to make an assumption of it, it was what I was thinking. because
Yes, sir.
that
And
ties-
we didn't want you to. We
Yeah,
wanted you to
that-
fully
that'll go bad
understand. That's why
sometime.
I was looking, saying, can I go ahead and talk about that now too? So,
So those headsets that we're currently using is 7 years old, and the communication between them and the new system TACN is not working out
the
well.
connections are not exactly what they're supposed to be, and we can't retrofit those. Plus, some of the technology built into them is nowhere near the technology that's available to us today.
Most 7-year-old technologies are not
Yes, ma'am.
adaptable to current technologies. So.
Yes, ma'am.
6 months later. What do you do with the old ones, chief?
We could try to sell them. I don't know if there'd be anybody out there that would need them or want them or what we might even get for them. Probably not much at all. They've been used an awful lot because every time they train, anytime they suit up, there's been a lot of use of those through the last 7 years. And, they're almost worn out, to be honest with you.
How many are we talking about?
20, is that right? Total?
It's 20.
Yes, sir, 20.
20 total. That gives us a couple spares just in the event something occurs and we have to have them.
Is there any more questions for the chief about those two items?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Your hair looks good, chief.
On the next item on our agenda, item number 11, appoint or remove board members or committee members. Item A, Economic Development Advisory Committee, one term expired 6/30/2020. It is my understanding that the currently serving Eric Tudabine
Yes.
has applied and would like consideration for that position. Any conversation about that? Historical Preservation Advisory Committee, one term is vacant. Do we have applicants, Bruce?
We have no applications for this one yet.
Okay. Laverne Housing Authority, we have one term vacant. Local Emergency Planning Committee, two terms are vacant. Senior Advisor, Senior Citizens.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
But I had made the request a while ago. Why can't, or are we going to leave that over to our new fire chief? Or why can't, with that being Chris Clark's vacancy, why can't we just, why don't we, instead of putting, I know the individual, when we put the individual's name in there, but why can't we just use that title, Laverne Fire Department, and then we'll always have someone, hopefully, on the fire department that can represent that, though.
We would have to rewrite the ordinance in order to do that,
Okay,
because it does call for two specific positions from the various agencies and departments. I mean, that can be done, but currently, we're not where we can do that. Now, once somebody is appointed, for instance, this time we're suggesting that new Chief Ronnie Beasley be appointed to that LFD position. If he is unable to attend, he can send somebody else from his department to come to that meeting and represent him in that fire department position. So there is some flexibility there.
okay.
But we have to appoint a specific person to the board to fill the position.
Understood. Thank you.
If there's no more conversation about that, Item E, Senior Citizens Advisory Committee. There is one term vacant. We do have a few applicants for that. Is there any questions or comments about that? If not, Calvin, do you have any comments?
On,
Just as to adjourn the meeting.
oh, we're gonna do the discussion for the evaluation.
Did I miss one? Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry. That's kind of important.
You can skip it if you want.
I'm so sorry. I did not do that on purpose. First time being up here doing
I
this.
thought you were putting me on the spot there, huh?
No. Cheryl, if you would please come give our discussion for the city administrator performance evaluation. I am so sorry.
I got things to say about them, but I do that in private. I don't talk about them in the open.
Good evening, Vice Mayor and Aldermen. I'd like to present the city administrator's performance review evaluation piece. And I'd like to say that last year, the overall score was 4.22. This year, it is 4.58. And individual characteristics, overall 4.42. Professional skills and status, overall 4.65. Relations and elected members of governing body, 4.65 overall. Policy execution, section 4, overall is 4.75. Section 5 is reporting, 4.45. Section 6, citizens relations, 4.65. Section 7, staffing, 4.65. Section 8, supervision, 4.31. Section 9, fiscal management, 4.55. Section 10, community, the overall score is 4.75, for a total score accumulation of all sections, 4.58. Are there any questions?
No, but I would like to say that's a really good score, Bruce. I hope that you're proud of that.
Thank you, I am.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. And now we'll move on to the mayor and alderman comments, starting with Calvin Jones.
I'd just like to let everyone know I think that the city did a PSA with both our chiefs and the mayor. Everyone be careful with their fireworks. We've lucked out with a little bit of rain, so the ground is not as dry, so that's a good thing. But do be careful this weekend or whenever you decide that you want to celebrate.
Alderman No.
I just want to wish everyone a happy 4th, and we're having the fireworks at the park Saturday. Senior Citizen Center will be set up with a tent. We're going to start a little bit of fundraising, even though we can't open, but Melissa's going to be making her world famous Nana pudding, and we're going to have fruit dishes and stuff, so stop by the park up there Saturday, stay Saturday night, watch the fireworks. Wear a mask, it's optional, but, you know, I see a lot of, as Randolph says, I see a lot of scuttlebutt about the mask, so it's your choice. But Saturday hopefully will be a good day. It's supposed to be super hot, so everybody have a great 4th.
And I would just like to offer my condolences for Alderman Jones's brother.
Thank you.
Very sorry to hear of your loss. And I would like to congratulate again the mayor and his wife on 15 happy years of marriage. He is away celebrating his anniversary tonight. That's why I am fumbling through this meeting. And I just want to wish everyone a happy 4th. This has been a very traumatic and trying year for all of us in the country, and it's time for us to come together and remember that we're celebrating the right to have our freedom of speech. And I just want to wish everyone a happy 4th and have a good, safe holiday. Thank you. I'll adjourn this meeting.
I think you did a good job.
Thank you.